Tojo podcast.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing really, really well. And today we are going to look at how do you maintain a healthy back.
It's a big issue. So many of our clients come to us or have had back issues in the past.
So they say that at some point in your life, you will experience an episode of back pain. Some of it has a cause, some of it doesn't have a cause. But here's the thing, is it does inconvenience us.
So much of it is one of those things. You know, there's a lot of things which cause back pain. You know, serious things like sciatica, herniated discs, and all these sort of dramatic things we talk about. But for most people, it's just one of those things, really.
Yeah.
And we can have a rough idea about what's really going on. But it's just something that, with the right application of therapy, will sort itself out.
And if you want to get technical, because some people do like the names, we're talking about non-specific back pain, how to prevent non-specific back pain. That basically means it's non-specific.
It's not because you were shot in the back and you got shrapnel in your spine.
It's not particularly because there's a tumour attached to the bone or anything that's going to be really majorly wrong. This is your normal back pain because something is a little bit of a miss. But here's some facts for you right at the start of our podcast, because we like facts.
And one of the first facts is that your back is actually a very, very strong structure.
It is. It's the longest structure.
It is. And the reason we think it's not very strong is because when we see a skeleton, a lot of vertebrae piled on top of each other, we look at it and we think that's not very strong. But of course, that's not the back. The back is composed of the vertebrae, but also hundreds and hundreds of tiny little muscle fibres, thousands actually, weaving their way around, encapsulating it and holding it stable. It's an incredibly rigorous, functional...
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. And it holds you up. You know, when you feel like you're like, how does that hold you up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a really, really strong piece of machinery. Here's the thing, 35% of the population at one time will be experiencing low back
At any given time, 35%. So you're walking down the street, what you're saying is over a third of the people you meet are going to be experiencing back pain.
I'm really bad, so I'll actually be looking at people as to whether they're rubbing the bottom of their back.
Oh yeah, I do the same, because I specialise in shoulders, Joe specialises in backs. And if I'm
And
at
I'm
the
always
gym,
watching.
as soon as somebody's rubbing their shoulders, I think, oh, okay.
We're in. And the thing is, it's the second biggest reason for sick leave in the UK.
Really?
The second biggest reason. Back pain actually costs the UK economy 12.3 billion a year.
That's huge. That's huge.
And what if we said to you that actually, if we did these next 5 points that we're going to share with you, that will probably reduce your probability of having a low back pain episode.
Absolutely. Now, the thing is that most people who have back pain don't need surgery. They don't need a medical intervention in that sense. They don't need anything invasive. They don't need to lie in a bed for 6 weeks. They don't need to go into traction or anything like that. Now, there are cases where surgery is necessary. There are cases where invasive techniques are necessary. But because those tend to make the headlines, we forget that the vast majority of your back pain is not because there's some major problem wrong. But it feels that way because it's very dramatic, isn't it, back pain?
It is. I remember when I came in from shopping one day and you were on the phone.
Yeah.
And you were laying on the floor, rolling about in pain because all of a sudden your back had gone and your legs had gone from underneath you.
Yeah. Legs had totally disappeared from under me and I'm on the floor, couldn't even get up, couldn't move. And that's the thing with back pain, because it's so dramatic. And, you know, a lot of back pain is simply a nerve being pinched. And that nerve being pinched is not dramatic. The nerve's not going to snap. Your back's not going to sever the nerve or anything like that. It's just pinching the nerve, but it feels like your back is broken in two. Yeah. And so we want to try and lower the drama involved in back pain here and explain to you how we can maintain a healthy back. And also, if you're one of the 35% of people who are currently experiencing back pain right now, how you can self-help yourself to get back into fit and fighting fettle very quickly.
Number 1, exercise regularly.
You knew that was coming, didn't you?
Movement. Yeah. So a lot of our jobs in this modern day world that we live in are sedentary. If you're one of the lucky ones that are on your feet, fantastic. If you're sitting behind a desk, this is one of the major low back pain triggers, is our sedentary position, sat in one place for far too long. What happens to the muscles? They become weak, they become short. Your back, like Thomas said, is surrounded by so many muscles. And so one of those that starts to have a bit of a grumble, it's going to have a knock-on effect to everything else. So exercise regularly is actually the number one way to maintain a healthy back.
And exercise doesn't have to be about getting up and doing squats. It can just be moving around. So if you're sitting at a desk, to just move the back, to arch the back, to roll the back, it feels very good anyway just to do that. But when we talked about the muscles of the back, all the muscles of the body are made of bundles of fibres. And if you get chicken breasts out of the fridge and they've been in there for a while, they're all sort of stuck together. Our muscles get like that. They're all stuck together. And the natural movement, lubricates those muscles and makes them slide together. So a lot of our lack of movement, a lot of our lack of mobility isn't to do with short muscles or short tendons or anything like that. It's just because the muscles are stuck together. So movement, lateral movement, rotations and things like that start to lubricate those muscles and give you some flexibility back in. And that has a huge effect on alleviating back pain, because imagine any of your body parts are just held rigid for a long period of time, as they would be sitting at a desk. They tend to go into cramp, and that's very painful.
So exercises are so important, just general exercising. I know people say, if I was to squat, that's going to damage my spine. Actually, squats actually strengthen. Because here's the thing, we don't use our core in most of our day-to-day living.
Yeah.
So one of the major things to build a healthy back is to have a strong core. Now, that doesn't particularly mean that you need to do abs 7 days a week, because every exercise that we do, every exercise actually works the core as a secondary part.
And heavy load-bearing exercise has a knock-on effect of strengthening the bones as well. The bones, particularly the spinal structure, it actually likes to be put under a lot of pressure. Not constant, not always, but it needs that. And what it does, it helps it maintain strong bones.
Yeah.
If there's no reason for them to be strong, they won't be strong. So I saw a 78-year-old woman doing squats with 3 plates aside the other day on YouTube. And no, I'm not suggesting you do that, but it goes to show that it's not that this case of by the time you reach 40, your squatting days are over, or now all you can do is bicep curls. The big, heavy compound exercises are really, really good if they're done in good form.
Yeah. So what do I mean by keeping your core muscles exercised? So around your trunk area, I'm just getting a little bit technical here. Around your trunk area is what is called your core. There are 2 systems. There's your global system, which means your outer system. That's your abs. That's your 6-pack that, we're all working towards for the summer holidays. And then there's the local system. That's the system that is closest to your spine. So for those who know muscles, your rectus spinae that run all the way up your back. Rectus abdominis is in there as well. To actually turn those muscles on takes a large amount of concentration. And if you've trained with me with low back pain, you're like, oh my gosh, this is harder than a squat. So there are particular muscles that do need training to actually start maintaining your back health. But just starting off with general exercise, it's a good start.
Coming back to what you're saying, is we were talking about the spine is actually a very strong structure. But if you do strip away all the muscles around it, then it's a very weak structure.
It's flimsy.
So by strengthening those muscles, imagine your back is a Jenga tower.
Oh yeah.
Now that could fall over quite easily if it was just, but because the Jenga pieces are all interlocked, now that's not going to fall over so much. But what if you were to surround that Jenga tower with muscle fibres holding it together? Now that's nice and solid.
That's the kind of Jenga I prefer to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's strong. So you can get a much taller tower as well.
Yeah.
So the second thing we want to talk about after exercise is flexibility.
Get flexy.
Now, one of the first things we do is when we get some back pain is we stop moving and we get less flexible. And this can be a knock-on effect. We can get less and less flexible. Now, when we're not flexible, we're more likely to, I don't like this phrase, put our back out. To get back
Do
pain.
ourselves a mischief.
Yes. Isn't it funny how you can go to a gym and you can lift huge weights and then you put your back out when you're putting your socks on?
Or doing your shoelaces up. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the reason is largely because of lack of flexibility. When we bend down, particularly in the mornings to put our socks on, we haven't warmed our back up. We've got out of being in a fairly rigid position and we suddenly go to quite an extreme bend to put our sock on, and that's where we put our back out. Remember, it's one sock, so we're off to the side as well. It's an awkward position. So maintaining lifelong flexibility is vital in maintaining a healthy spine. So not just the flexibility of muscles against each other, as we talked about with the chicken breasts, but the flexibility that comes from having tendons and connective tissues and fascia and muscles themselves, which are constantly put under stress and stretched out, worked through the entire range of motion.
So one of the major areas that can actually affect low back pain are your hips. So what's called your hip flexors. So hip flexors is a specific stretch. The hip flexors are at the front of your thighs, right at the top. Mm-hmm. And that's where, if you're in a sedentary job and you're sat at an angle, your hip flexors are pretty much dormant pretty much most of the day. Yeah,
you're kind of at this 90-degree thing with your hips up, and it's imagine you've folded your legs forward and then somebody's put a clamp on each of your hip flexors, and then when you suddenly stretch them out, they start screaming.
Whoa.
So because they're tight, that affects the way our posture is.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, honey.
Oh, posture. Wow, that actually needs to be another point, but I will put it in flexibility.
Yeah. So
posture is probably one of the major causes of back pain. If you'll find, so posture is actually the position of your pelvis. I won't go into the major terms, but let's put it into a different way. Sometimes you'll find that people's bottoms poke right out when they're walking, and they're at almost like an angle facing the floor.
Bottoms out. The belly button is doing the opposite to their bottom. So their bottom's going backwards, belly button's coming frontwards, and they've got this huge, great arch in their back.
Yeah.
And often, if you wear a lot of high heels, your high heels throw you into that position, which is why they're so bad for you to wear constantly, because guys like them because they accentuate certain body parts.
Just saying, guys don't like wearing them.
Well, they're like girls in them because they throw out the boobs, they throw out the bum, but it puts your spine in a very poor position, very unnatural position.
Yeah. So there are a couple of postures to be aware of. If you're working at a desk, sometimes you'll find that you'll have a lot of round shoulders. So, and if you're tall, so when you're at school. Sometimes if you had a growth spurt a bit earlier than all your other mates, you'd find that you wanted to stoop down. If you're particularly tall now, you still sometimes find that you want to stoop over. So you end up rounding the shoulders down. That then almost like tucks the bottom under. So you've got this kind of big, almost, if we were to exaggerate it, a little bit of Quasimodo at the top. Comes from a lot of computer work. Also comes from a bit of text neck.
Yeah.
So if you've got your head down towards your phone all the time, it's called forward living. So we live in at the front all the time with no reason to kind of straighten back. So that is a major with regards to back pain. Then you have those that walk a little bit or are a little bit more upright than usual. So the shoulders are overly back, and then you've got a curvature at the bottom of the spine where you're too far, your belly's too far the other way,
Imagine an exaggerated soldier stance.
Yes.
Okay, now that's a different problem.
Yeah.
It's too far back the other way. And also you can get to that sort of problem as well if you're sometimes tremendously overweight. You can throw your shoulders back.
If you're a lady and you're carrying a baby, it automatically throws you in this position just to be able to carry, and that's totally understandable. But yes, if you do have a bit of a tummy, that does it. The back will do that. Also, there's another one, bit of a what's called scoliosis, where you've got
sideways.
So you've got a bit of an unbalance almost in the shoulder blades. Perhaps one shoulder blade is higher than the other, and when you look at the spine from the back, it's got a little bit of A windy, bendy road.
Like a snake.
Yeah.
But the thing to take home from this is that you don't need surgery for these most of the time. In fact, almost all the time. All you need is to take what you got, strengthen it, and by strengthening it, it will correct itself. You're going to strengthen the weak muscles.
Yeah.
You're going to stretch out the shortened muscles, and you're going to give yourself back this flexibility. So flexibility is really important. I want to move on and talk about healthy weight. Healthy weight.
Maintaining a healthy diet and healthy weight. So it is really true that you are what you eat. So there are certain foods that are quite toxic for our body.
Smoking is a big issue, actually. We tend to think smoking is just an issue for our lungs, but smoking, it affects all these functions of our body.
Yeah, no, that's right. Maintaining a healthy weight just basically means that you're not putting a huge amount of pressure on the spine to actually carry that trunk, as it were. And that's something that's worth being aware of, shall we say.
Imagine you were going for a hike, and I was hiking with you, and I've said, right, you're going to carry all of the equipment. So you've got 70 kilo Bergens strapped to your back and rucksack, 70 kilos in there, and now you've got to carry that now. And I'm not carrying much at all. All I've got is my little rucksack with my sandwiches in. Which one of us, at the end of that, is going to have an aching back? It's going to be the person who's carrying all the extra weight. Now, it's very possible somebody can carry 40 kilos of extra weight very easily, 20 kilos of extra weight. Just imagine if you had to carry around 20 kilos of extra weight every day, and the effect that's going to have on your joints, the effect that's going to have on your back,
pelvis.
On your pelvis.
Yeah.
Also, the more, let's go to the Jenga tower again, the more pressure I put on the top, the more likely it is to flip out sideways.
Yeah.
Because the pressure on top is creating, if there's a slightest instability, it's going to flip out sideways, and that's where we end up with disc issues, herniated discs.
Yes, it is. So maintaining a healthy diet and weight keeps us on the track to maintaining a healthy back.
And it also keeps us to maintaining a healthy posture as well. Once again, if we're carrying all our weight in our tummies, then we have to artificially throw our shoulders back like a pregnant woman in order to hold that weight up. Yeah. And the effect of that, we throw our shoulders back, our hips rotate as well, and the whole thing puts us in an unstable position just to be able to carry the weights, which is a sure way of getting back pain. Can I just mention one thing in here about back pain? Because we often think back pain is about that there is a disc issue. Most back pain is an impinged nerve. I just want to put this out there, that most of the time when we experience like sciatica and these things, there's a nerve, and all that's happening is the back or the muscle structures around there are impinging, they're squashing the nerve and sending a lot of pain shooting all over your body. And it's just worth recognising that when you do get a little bit of back pain, there's not something gone out of sync with your back necessarily, and the bones are grinding against each other and this sort of thing. Sometimes it's just that impingement of nerves, which is why a little bit of stretching can often release it.
Yeah. Being a little bit of posture awareness as well. If you want to know, here's the thing, if you want to know if you've got a bit of a pelvic tilt, look at yourself in the mirror at the sideways. And does your bum poke upwards? Does it tuck inwards? Put your hands onto your hips at the front and see if your hips face down or whether they're up. And that's a really good way of looking. Or take a picture, get someone to take a picture at the sideways and just have a little bit of a look and see if you can work it out. Yeah,
if you have trouble building your bum, then that's almost certainly to do with the way you're holding yourself with your posture, and that affects the way you exercise. So
it turns your bum and your hamstrings off.
Yeah.
So you become very quad dominant.
You don't want to have a sleepy bum.
So next thing, number 4.
Lifting technique. Shall I take this one?
Go for it.
So lifting technique is really important, and it's not just because we all have to sit through these mind-numbingly dull videos that they show us at staff training kind of things, where they talk about lifting technique. The reason is because lifting technique, it really is a big deal. And so we would spend a lot of time with new clients working on squat technique and trying to get them so their breathing is right, their eyes are focused in the right place, their spine is in a neutral alignment. Now, you can't always keep your spine perfectly upright, and neither should it be. It's meant to be used and bent in all sorts of different directions. But the heavier the load you're lifting, the more you want to maintain this neutral alignment, where the head and the neck and the spine and the hips, they're all in alignment.
All stacked.
And they're all stacked. And obviously, if you think of just the way gravity works, the more uprightly they're stacked, the more stable that is. So we talk about lifting from your knees. Instead of keeping your legs straight, bending over and lifting straight up, we bend our knees, do a proper full squat, grab the box, and then stand upwards with our eyes facing forwards.
If you can push up from your heels,
yeah,
and that's what a squat is really, pushing from your heels. That's a lot safer, and it actually takes your back out of the equation.
It's basic biomechanics.
You're just using the back for what it's meant to be used for. So we never lift from the back. The back isn't made.
It's not a lifting mechanism.
It's not a crane.
No, no. Our legs are, but the problem is because we sit in chairs all day, our legs are very, very weak.
Yeah.
And so we tend to use our back to make up the difference. Don't do that. Squat down to pick things up, lift properly, strengthen your legs, and then you'll keep your back nice and
never
healthy.
Skip leg day, folks. Never skip leg day. Number 5.
Warm up properly.
Warm up properly. And I know this is probably something that you roll your eyes at, something that your PE teacher always used to tell you, but it's so true. To warm up, it just reduces the risk of actually causing yourself an injury. So warming up the lower back is so important. Things like rotational twists.
I'm thinking of chicken breasts again.
Right.
Sticky chicken breasts,
yeah.
Rotational twists and things like this. Start getting that nice and flexible, and the warming up, and it generates a lot of fluid within the muscles, which is wonderful for helping maintain stability.
Yeah, so having a really good warm up. If your muscles are cold, so that's where the term warm up comes from. You're warming up your muscles. If your muscles are cold, they're a lot more rigid. The same as what you are. If you go out for a really cold walk, your whole body goes into this tension of shivering and almost like this rigidness. Exactly the same as happens in your muscles.
You're increasing blood flow in your muscles, which is very, very important. You're slowly bringing your heart rate up. What you're saying to your body, if you can say put your body in an instantaneous, sudden, this is a situation, fight or flight, what are you going to do? Your body will respond. It will flood you with adrenaline and you'll be able to make the response. The problem is once the danger has passed, you may find that you've got an injury you didn't realise. So by warming up slowly into muscular exercise, and particularly when it involves the back, it means that our body is actually primed. It's a little bit like when, back in the day, when I got my first car, it was a diesel car, and you couldn't just turn the diesel on, the engine on. You had to turn it on first of all and leave it for a couple of seconds before you turned the engine on. And it was kind of, let's warm it up. You get in a car, if you're on a cold day, you don't want to turn the key in the ignition and then press your accelerator to the floor. That's not going to do the engine any good. You need to allow time for the oil to circulate.
You're priming your body. You're telling it that you're about to embark upon some exercise. Lastly, here's one of the things that you're not normally going to pair the two together. But number 6 is to maintain a healthy mind.
Oh, yeah.
Maintain a healthy mind. At the back of your neck is what's called your central nervous system. And the central nervous system is full of all these shooting nerves. And they shoot messages throughout the whole body, and your back has so many nerves all the way down it. Now, if you are experiencing some tension or some stress in your life, where do you carry that stress? Do you carry it in your shoulders? Do you find that your shoulders are up constantly by your ears?
Now when I carry stress, my shoulders come up towards my ears.
Yeah.
When Jo carries stress, it's in her rhomboids. That's
Top of the middle back.
Top of the middle back, about where the bra clasp would be if you're a girl. About there, her back gets absolutely rock solid there, and I have to massage it out almost with a with a sledgehammer to free her up.
So if you have a mind where perhaps you find that you're overly stressed and anything is almost setting you off at that moment, you'll probably find that your pain receptors, which are all the way down your nervous system, your pain gates are going to be constantly open. They're waiting. You even get pain, message of pain when there is no pain.
If you get somebody, for instance, who's a hypochondriac, then the slightest thing that happens to them is catastrophized, is made into a huge thing. Oh, I burnt the toast.
I was actually trying to be a bit more diplomatic, but you went there.
I went there. I burnt the toast today. It's the end of the world. Now that's a purely psychological thing, but our central nervous system is exactly the same. I said, so that the hypochondriac is turned on, their drama sensors, if you like, are turned on. Their drama gates are always on position. They're looking for drama. They're looking for issues, looking for problems. And that can be a very difficult position to be in. But equally, your central nervous system, if you've had chronic pain for a long period of time, the pain sensors get turned on and they get stuck in that on position.
Yeah.
And then something which is actually not a big issue becomes a much, much more painful issue. And please, I'm not saying it's in your mind, because all pain is in our mind. That's where we feel it. It's a genuine sense of pain when because your pain receptors have become oversensitive, overstimulated through overuse. And maintaining a healthy mind, this is why we teach meditation techniques and various other things as well, because that can be important for back health. Who knew that back health, when somebody has a back pain, that it could simply be they need to calm down, relax down, and take a few deep breaths.
Some of the ways that you can actually maintain a healthy mind. Also, meditation is really good. Trying to filter through the stress of the day and actually get through it. That's why we do a lot of Flexi Fridays for those on YouTube channel. But also to write down perhaps 4 or 5 positive affirmations that you keep on saying to yourself throughout the day. Things like, my back is absolutely fine. I am full of health. I am full of joy. And so keeping your mind in a positive place has a knock-on effect to the rest of your body. Give it a go. Instead
of programming yourself with, I've got a dodgy back, I've got a bad back, I've got a bad back. Stop programming yourself with, my back is a strong tower. Yeah. My back is a strong tower. Because your body will try to mimic what the brain is telling it.
Yes.
So your back is a strong tower. That's got to be our mantra for today.
Yes.
My back is a strong tower.
So this has been 6 points on how to maintain a healthy back. We hope you found this helpful. If you do need any training or help with regards to actually sorting out your back pain, please do get in contact with us. Follow us and subscribe on YouTube, Tojo Fitness, Instagram at Tojo Fit, or Facebook, Tojo Fitness.
Have a fantastic day, people. Be good.
Bye.